To my greatest surprise, I have learned that allowing myself to do nothing is actually the most productive thing I can do for myself, for my entire system of body, mind, and soul, which seems so counterintuitive. And that's why I never actually allowed myself to do nothing until now. Because that's what we do. We fear that doing nothing is the same as getting nowhere. But I was so wrong. I was so wrong because it feels like what I'm seeing now. I'm spending a lot of time doing nothing, learning to feel bored again, without trying to fill that space with thoughts or lists or preparation or optimization, you name it. I have come to see that when I do nothing, I leave room for my soul to be the productive one. It's like the soul is just quietly, patiently waiting for us in the background whilst we are being led and driven by the mind, and then letting the body do what the mind says. But the soul is the one that knows. The soul is the one that knows who you are and what you want your life to be like. And what happens when we are constantly driven by the mind and letting the body follow the mind is that the mind is kind of seeking what the soul already knows, but the mind doesn't have the language to translate the message from the soul. So therefore, the soul is kind of patiently waiting in the background until the mind and body does nothing. So when I do nothing, that is when the soul gets to do something. That's when the soul gets to say something. And you are in the right position to listen to it. When you do nothing, you allow yourself to be bored, to just sit down and actually relax, not making lists in your head, not thinking about what you should prepare for or tend to. That is when the soul gives you the question, who are you when nothing is required? Who are you when nothing is required? Do you even know? I had no clue who I was when nothing was required, because something was always required of me. Not actually, but in my mind and in my body, something was always demanding my attention. And why was it that? Well, because I was always thinking, if there is something in front of me that it doesn't even have to be something that needs to be done, but if there is something that can be done, that should be done, or at least should be thought about, reflected on, planned for, optimized, I need to do it right now. And the reason I will do it right now, I thought to myself, is so that I can get it all out of the way, so that later I can relax. I can do nothing later and I can relax. But what happened from me always thinking about things to cross off my to-do list, or even in my head only? What happens when we do that over time is that we teach the mind and the body that there is no rest later. Because when and if we actually get to the point, we actually get to the moment where we can relax, you will probably quite quickly start thinking about something that could be thought about, something that could be done. Not because you have to, but because that is what your system is so used to doing that it doesn't know how to do nothing. It doesn't know how to relax. I had a very clear experience with this just a couple of mornings ago, and it was really eye-opening. I had one of these mornings to myself to do nothing. So I took my cup of coffee outside and I just sat there. No books, no notes, no plans, nothing. I was just there to enjoy the moment with my cup of coffee. And I looked out and I took a sip of my coffee and I thought, oh, how nice it is to do nothing. And the next moment, my body has gotten up from the chair and is on the way back inside to the kitchen to refill my cup of coffee that wasn't even half empty yet. And I wasn't even aware that I was doing it. So I just stopped on my way back to the kitchen and thought, what am I doing? I just thought to myself how lovely it is to sit here and do nothing, and here I am doing something. So my system was so trained to think and do, if something can be done in the moment, let's just do it now. Why postpone it to later? So I knew I had more coffee inside in the kitchen. And I knew that at some point I need to go up and get more coffee. So why don't I just do it now? But my coffee was still warm. I still had a lot of it. So it's such a small thing, but that's the thing. If even such a small thing as enjoying a cup of coffee becomes impossible to do without already planning or doing the next step, then we're always one step ahead of the present moment. We are not doing nothing even when we try to. And that's the consequence, I think, of us always tending to things. And why do we tend to things? Very often it is to save time so that we get more time to ourselves later. But if you're anything like me, when and if you get that time to yourself later, you don't know how to enjoy it because you have trained your mind and body to always be somewhere else than in the present moment, actually always one step ahead of the present moment. So it basically becomes impossible to do nothing. And it took me years and years to realize this because I was sitting outside in my garden a lot, doing what I thought was nothing, but I was working on things in my head all of the time. I was being productive even when my body was sitting still. And I didn't see anything wrong with that. But the reason for that is I didn't know that I could actually sit there and do nothing and enjoy it because I had never experienced it. So I had no clue it was possible. But I started consciously doing that in December 2025, and so much has happened. And what I'm realizing is the more I do nothing, the more my soul gives me answers to the question, who am I when nothing is required? Who are you when you are not a parent, a spouse, a partner, a worker, a leader, a housekeeper, a friend, whatever it might be? Who are you when nothing is required of you. We know that this is an important question to ask. And we have so many examples of people saying, I want to feel like more than a mother. I want to feel like more than a partner. I want to feel like I'm more than my work. So we know that we are supposed to ask this question, who am I? When nothing is required of me, when I'm not in a role, when I'm not tending to something, fixing something, doing something, optimizing something, preparing for something, when I'm not saving time by being more efficient, who am I? The more I do nothing, the more my soul gives me answers to that. Not because I ask, not because I try to force anything or reflect on it with my mind, but the more I sit there and do nothing, I just get these small urges or impulses. Like I notice something that catches my attention and it really matters to me. It tells me something about my values. It tells me something about what I like my life to be filled with more, and what I like for my life to have less of in it. Something very surprising that I learned is that I love peace. And it might sound weird to say that, because who doesn't love peace? But actually, I always thought peace or feeling peaceful was boring. Just goes to say, I had no clue what peace was. But the thing is, I have always been this very energetic, happy-go-lucky kind of person who smiles a lot, who tells a lot of jokes, who makes a lot of fun, likes to make people laugh. I like to laugh myself and just be silly. Not be so serious all of the time. And I thought peaceful people, they were so serious. They were so bored. But from doing nothing, I have finally gotten to learn and feel what peace really is. What it feels like when my body is still, when my nervous system is still, and when my mind doesn't have to hijack the present moment. I've always lived in my mind. If you have been following me, you know this. I'm a very mind-driven person, and I try to reflect on everything and fix everything and learn everything with my mind. But I'm so taking a break from my mind these days. And I think it's so important to do that, to do nothing, because if the soul is just patiently waiting whilst you are living your life through your mind and letting your body follow your mind without asking questions, you are probably a bit overwhelmed too. Your nervous system is probably always in some state of fight, flight, or freeze. You don't even have to know it, because it doesn't have to feel like anxiety. It's just that it has never learned or gotten to trust that rest and doing nothing is actually something that's good for you. So even when you sit down to do nothing for the first couple of times, your body, your nervous system wants to do things, take care of business. Your mind wants to take care of business. But you have to just stay seated. That's what I've been doing. I get the urge to do something and I feel restless from time to time, but I still just sit there and do nothing. And if I'm on my way to refill my cup of coffee before I need to, I sit myself back down. Because what happens then is that my body learns to trust me again. And it gets to connect with my soul, or the part of me that knows what I want, that knows who I am when nothing is required, what kind of values matter to me, what kind of emotions matter to me, what kind of experiences that makes me feel good. Not in the way that this feels good because I crossed it off my list, which is what I've been doing most of my life, but these whole other experiences with no requirements. When nothing needs your attention, where does your attention go? Willingly. That is when you get to learn who you really are. And this is important because it gives you a clue what you want to fill your time with when you are not tending to these things. And for me, it has also already taught me that I don't have to tend to all of these things. I have even been taking responsibility for other people, for their actions, for their plans or lack of plans. I've been controlling everything, thinking and believing that once I have everything under control, then I can rest. Then I can spend some time with myself. But that's the thing. We keep spending our time and we try to save our time. But for what? For what are we saving that time? Because basically what we're doing, if we actually get to save any time, we spend that time doing more things efficiently to save more time. And at one point we're dead. Not to be harsh here, but that's the truth. So when are we saving that time for? I don't want to spend any more time. I want to be in time. And I want to get to know myself, my true self, the one without the expectations and the requirements, and without things needing my attention. From there, I can start filling my life with all of these things that my soul is telling me that really matters to me. But my soul is only telling me that when I'm doing nothing, when I'm feeling bored, because that is when I unlearn my mind. I untrain my mind to think that it always has to work on something. And I untrain my body to always be alert, to always be ready as it was when it went to fill up my cup of coffee. I'm telling my body, you don't have to be ready for anything. Trust me now. We are going to sit here until you relax and we will do nothing. And things happen. Doing nothing is not the same as getting nowhere. I would dare to say it's really getting me somewhere. And that somewhere is back to me, back to who I truly am. And it feels good. I highly recommend it. Thank you.